Hey y'all, welcome back to Lilmaskitchen. Tonight we're going to be cooking baked macaroni and cheese and sautéed greens and cabbage with bacon. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so now that we've prepped everything, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you want to do, you should be boiling your water for your noodles. Now today I'm using mini penne, so penne noodles, and I'm using these because honestly I only had one box of the macaroni, the elbow macaroni noodles, and I need to for the number of servings that I require. So I had some mini penne noodles on hand, and I just decided to use those instead. So I have 2 pounds. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in the pot of water that's already boiling. Give it a quick stir. I'm also going to throw in just a pinch of salt. Now the recommended cooking time is 9 minutes, but I really don't want them to cook all the way through. So I'm going to cook them for 7 minutes instead to get more of an al dente texture. And what that is, if you don't know, it just means that it's not all the way done. So the noodles are they're a little more firm. They're not as soft as they would usually be. And the reason for that is because we're going to end up cooking this as well in the oven. We're going to bake it. So we don't want it to be mushy. We want the noodles to still have like a nice consistency. So that's my suggestion. Now, if you like your noodles a little more mushy or you don't like that idea, then you can cook them for the full time that's recommended. And then you will achieve, you know, that result if that's your preference. You can always change, you know, a recipe to your liking. I do it all the time. All right, so that's that. Just gonna let that boil. All right, now here I have my saucepan, my medium saucepan, and I'm gonna melt the butter. So I have 2 sticks of butter, 1 cup. And I'm going to go ahead and melt that. Excuse me. All right, so it's just going to take a couple of minutes to melt. That's fine. We'll give it a minute or two. So I think I'm going to grab my whisk. Okay, so we're just gonna whisk that around. Okay, again for about 1 to 2 minutes. So it's getting there. I'm gonna turn the fire up a little bit. You can do medium high or high heat. Just make sure that, you know, you don't scorch the butter. You don't want it to burn or have a burnt taste. Okay, so what you can do now while you're waiting, if you haven't already done this, is grease a baking dish. So today I'm going to use like an aluminum baking dish. We're cooking for the holidays and we're making a big portion. So I've already greased my baking dish and I've set it aside. So if you have not do that, now would be a good time to get that done. The pasta is boiling. Everything's good. Next, I can just tell you what we're going to do next. Next, we're going to slowly whisk in some flour. The flour is going to give it a thick consistency. And what I'm doing here is I'm making a roux. The roux is going to help hold the macaroni and cheese together, much like how similar to people use eggs. So, you know, they use the eggs to hold it together. So I'm not going to use eggs because I've also made dressing. And, you know, there were quite a few eggs in that dish. So I'm going to use this method today because it's delicious and it just doesn't require the eggs. As simple as that. All right, so I'm going to give that a quick stir. Oh, yeah. There we go. So we're good. Okay. So now I'm going to add in the flour. Oh, have to grab the flour. All right, so you should have already measured out your flour. You should have 1 cup of flour. That's all you'll need. And please forgive me, I just opened up a new bag of flour as we speak. So I'm measuring it out. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slowly whisk in the flour. I'm not going to just like dump it all in. I'm just going to whisk it in a little bit at a time. And I'm going to turn my fire back up a little bit. I had turned it down. So I have it on about medium high right now. Okay. So adjust your temperature if you need to. You know, everyone's stove is slightly different. So if it seems like it's cooking too fast or you're afraid it's going to burn, just go ahead and turn it down. So I'm going to go ahead and give these noodles a stir. And keep on adding in the flour. Whisking it. Noodles are just about to the point where we want them. So I'm going to grab the strainer and give those noodles a quick rinse. Just strain them and a very light rinse. All right, so that's the alarm for the noodles. It's been about 7 minutes or so. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my strainer. And give those a quick rinse. right back. Okay, so just a real quick rinse, nothing too extensive. And again, as I previously stated, I already have my baking dish greased, or my aluminum pan, I should say, greased. Okay, so we're gonna give the roux another quick stir, and as you can see, it's starting to thick and kind of get a light brown color, golden, and that's exactly how you want it to look. That's actually perfect. You just want to continue to stir it. You don't want it to burn, so you have to stir it constantly. All right, the mixture looks kind of gritty, and that's perfectly fine. That's how it should look. So I'm gonna just let it go for about another 1 to 2 minutes. All right, and what we're gonna do next is start to add in the milk in half and half. So I'm gonna go ahead and give that one more stir and then proceed. All right, so pouring in a little bit of the milk. I'm gonna give that a stir. And you can see, actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and switch back to the whisk. Works much better, just much easier. I have it on a very low, and it's starting to get really thick. And that's absolutely correct. That's what's gonna happen. So you just gotta really kind of be aggressive with the stirring, because you do not want it to burn. This is where it's really important not to scorch it. I don't want it to get too clumpy, so that's kind of why I'm adding the fluids in slowly, because it helps it to combine better, or mix better. So see how. Okay, so I'm gonna continue. I added all the milk, and I'm gonna continue with adding the half and half. So I've already added 2 cups, 2.5 cups, I'm sorry. Now I'm gonna put the other 2.5 cups. And actually, I think I'm gonna add a little more milk. I'm gonna have to transfer this into a bigger pot. So I'll just do that real quickly. So the mixture is at the bottom. That's about right. So Just transfer that in there. I'm gonna have to stir it in real good. Okay, so that's that simple. Okay, so to update you, I have added in all the cheeses. So 2/3 of the cheeses, I should say, combined with a half and half and all of the milk. So just to run through it real quick, it was 3 cups of whole milk, 5 cups of half and half, 4 cups of Gruyere, 4 cups of Colby, 4 cups of sharp cheddar. And again, I've already put in 2/3 of the cheese, and I've saved the last portion of the cheese for the topping. So let's just give it a stir. I've been stirring it on low. Slowly stirred in the cheeses. The consistency just got thicker and thicker. And this is exactly what you want to see. So it should be cheesy and thick. It almost looks a little gritty. And that is perfect. That's normal. That's exactly how you need it to look. So this is 3 cheese, but you can feel free to do however many cheeses you want. You can do 5 cheese, whatever your favorite cheeses are. You can reduce it to 2 cheeses if that's all you have in the fridge. Work with what you want. You can reduce this recipe to half. You know, it's the holidays and we're trying to make a big serving. So, you know, if you don't have a big family or it's just you, go ahead and reduce the recipe to half. Everything. Straight down the middle. And you will get the same result. Okay. Okay, so that looks good to me. So now we're going to go ahead and add in our spices. So I've combined all of my spices. That's a little bit of seasoning salt. I use Tony Casherands. I put about a teaspoon of, or a tablespoon, I'm sorry, of that. This is a pretty big portion. And then a teaspoon of regular sea salt. So now I'm just going to mix that in really good. Let it get all throughout there because I want the flavor to be in the sauce. I want to make sure that it's evenly distributed throughout the macaroni. Okay, so you kind of got to work it in, and that's fine. That's normal. And it's starting to get like a reddish color. So again, also I have a teaspoon of black pepper, a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, a teaspoon of regular paprika. The smoked paprika gives it like a little bit of a kick. That's kind of my little secret. You don't need a lot, just a little bit, because smoked paprika is extremely potent. It's potent. So you want to only add a little bit. So you can see it's starting to mix really good. Just continuing to whisk it. It's easier to mix it in with the whisk for me, personally. Okay, so we're just going to continue to work that in. No. All right. Looking good. All right, so just working it. See, there's a few clumps, so, or not clumps, but you know. Just want to evenly distribute it. Ooh, let's be careful. I'm gonna give it a little white. Okay, so we'll just continue to stir that in. I'm gonna turn up the heat a little bit. So it's on medium high right now, but again, you just have to be constantly stirring because you don't want it to scorch or burn. That will taste terrible. It will ruin your entire dish. Okay, almost there. Because we're gonna mix this more anyway, you know, once it's in a pan. All right, so I think that's about good. I think we got it pretty good. Good enough. Just try to get those few little extra. Seems like when you twist it or swirl it in, works better. Alright. There we are. Okay, so that's perfect. That looks good. So, I've already rinsed my noodles for my pasta. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the pre-greased baking dish or aluminum foil pan. So just break those noodles up a little bit. I usually put the noodles in a little sooner, right after rinsing, but I got a little distracted, so just break them up. No big deal. Everything will come together with the cream sauce or the cheesy cream sauce. Okay, so I'm just gonna mix that together. I can see that the butter is separating a little bit, so I'm just gonna give it another swirl. It's because the heat is very high. I'm gonna turn that off now. Okay, it's melted pretty good. No need to keep it cooking. Just turn the heat off. Okay, and now we're just gonna mix the sauce into the noodles, into the pasta. So, just gonna give that a good little tap. And go for it. I'm gonna start with the majority of it, but I'm gonna mix it in first, and then I will okay. Looking good. Okay, just mixing that real good. It's nice and thick, the way it's supposed to be. That good old macaroni and cheese. Okay. So just continue to mix. Make sure you get all the noodles coated. You want that cheese all throughout the pasta. And now we're going to add the remaining sauce. Okay, so just continuing to do the same thing and mix that in really good. Yeah, that looks great. Okay, just mix that a little more because I can still see, you know, some of the spices that need to be distributed more evenly. So I'm just gonna keep working it in. I want all that paprika and onion powder and garlic powder and dried mustard to be really mixed in. So the dried mustard, if you don't know, just kind of helps enhance the flavors of the cheese. It almost like brings them out, like it brings out like the nutty flavors. I can't explain it. It's delicious. And if you have never tried it, I suggest that you try it. Yeah, that's looking good. So I'm also gonna throw in a little sour cream. I should have put it in my sauce, but I just kind of thought about it at the last minute, so I'll just go ahead and put in about 2 tablespoons. You can also add some cream cheese into this if you have it. I would say for this portion, about 8 ounces of cream cheese would be delicious in the mixture. So that would be 4 cheese. And if you've never had it, you should probably try it. It's delicious. Okay, so we're just about finished up here. I'm just going to mix that sour cream in real good. Don't go crazy with the sour cream. Tiny big pan, arms are tired. I have to use 2 hands here. Okay. You really want to mix it well, so put the time into it. It's worth it. Okay. All right, out there. Okay, so we have the oven already preheated to 375 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tint this with some foil and I'm going to stick it in the oven. Once it's in the oven, it's going to bake for about, I'm going to say 30 to 45 minutes. However, you may need to adjust your cooking time based on your oven, and it could possibly take a little longer. This is a large portion, so I'll just adjust my baking time as needed. But if you had half the portion, I'm sure it would be about 30 to 45 minutes. You want it to cook until it's bubbly and kind of golden brown in color. You want your top to be golden brown. Now, last step that we talked about before you tint, of course, will be to just put that shredded cheese on top. Okay. So I'm just going to give it a little pat. Okay. Go ahead and put your remaining cheese that you had on top. It's going to be cheesy. And that's how we like it. Okay. Just kind of spread it out as best you can. Okay, so this here looks good to me. Looks yummy. So we're gonna go ahead and stick that in. As I stated, once we get this foil on here. And I cannot wait. So I will remove the foil so that it can brown, but I just want to, I want it to get like hot. I don't want it to, you know, take a long time to cook. So I'm just going to cover it with foil, like I said, for at least half the time, and then I'll take it off. I'll remove the foil so that it can brown evenly. And pretty much that's it. Once it's finished, we'll take a look at the end result. All right, y'all. This is the end result. So this is the baked macaroni and cheese. Update on the total bake time was about 50 minutes. I left it in the oven with the foil on for about 30 minutes. And then I removed the foil and baked it for another 20 minutes or so. Looks delicious. I hope you all enjoy. Please do subscribe. Thank you and have a good evening.